Hello YouTube, Brian here for my first writing video of 2016, and I am taking you guys to Xindian. That's where I rode my scooter out today. Okay, cool, so nice to be back guys, and let's get started first with questions time. So my first question comes from Souldrift7, and he says, do they have a Taiwanese version of Shock Tarts, Sweet Tarts, Sprees, and Lifesaver gummies and Sour Patches? That's kind of my candy. I like my candy sour. If they got their own type of Hostess snowballs and Tasty Cake candy bar cakes, that would be cool too. And yes, they start with a K. Okay, so first thing I have to say is I'm pretty sure if you went to a very, very big, like, mega warehouse store like Carrefour or Costco or maybe even RT Mart, that there's a decent chance you could find those candies. And I know what you're talking about, Souldrift with Shock Tarts, Sweet Tarts, and Sprees. I ate those when I was a kid. There are, I don't think in a regular supermarket that you're going to find those exact brands. And I'm not even sure that you're going to find anything that is a really great, like, what would I call it? A really great Taiwanese version of that. I don't think you're going to find something that directly relates. But there are sour candies that are made here in Taiwan. There's this kind of dried plum thing that's like a sour candy. So, yeah, that's the deal with the sour stuff. Gummy candies like Lifesavers, they definitely have those here at my local Welcome supermarket. They have the gummy candies in the bins where you can take a plastic bag and fill it up with whatever candies from the bins that you want. You can make your own mixed bag and they'll just weigh it and then you can pay for it that way. So that's the deal with that. And the Hostess stuff like snowballs, I swear to God, I've seen Twinkies before in Taiwan, and I'm pretty sure that would be an easy thing to find. For example, again, at like Costco. At like a regular supermarket, though, I think you're going to find more like regular traditional Taiwanese cakes, either stuff that they've baked right there in their store's bakery, or the Taiwanese classic pineapple cake, which is actually really, really good. So that's the deal with that. As far as the tasty cakes go, I had to look that up because I had never seen those before. I guess that's like a regional thing in the United States, and I don't ever remember seeing that exact type of thing in California or in Idaho. Just from looking at the Google image results, it looks like an ice cream sandwich. And yeah, we have ice cream sandwiches here in Taiwan, but I don't think I've seen anything quite like the tasty cake I'm looking at right now on my computer. So yeah, sorry man, if you come to Taiwan, I don't think you're going to find any tasty cakes or anything quite like that. But there's some delicious stuff here. Taiwan, they have their own sweets. They have their own special, yummy, delicious things that will entice you. Okay, Souldrift, that's it. I hope that answers your question on the sweet treats. Okay? Moving on. Next question comes from Leviathan, and he says, I have a question for your upcoming writing video. What kind of jobs do you think most foreigners in Taiwan have? I'm sure it's mostly teaching, but do you know anyone doing other things? Are there other options? Serpent Zere made a video about this topic once as it applies to China, and I'm wondering if it's the same in Taiwan. Okay, so Leviathan, what do most foreigners do? So if you want to look at foreigners as a whole, then let's just start with the biggest group. That would be South Asians, Southeast Asians. And for the men, they end up in working in factories and like that kind of hard manual labor type stuff, unfortunately. And for the women, they end up being domestics. They end up being carers for elderly or disabled people. So that's them. If you're talking about Western foreigners, like people from English-speaking countries like myself, yeah, most of us end up being ESL teachers. That's English as a second language teachers. That's what I am. That's what I've been doing since I got here, because that's the easiest thing to do, and it's very, very hard to break out of that. That being said, it is possible to get into another position, another field here in Taiwan, and I do know people who are doing it, but it's difficult. You need to have advanced education, and your education needs to be in a very particular field that gives you a particular set of skills, because that will get you the visa. And if you're lucky like me and you don't need really a working visa, and you are here on permanent residence or on a marriage visa and you have an open work permit, it's still quite hard to find jobs to do. I've gotten close to doing kind of editing jobs. I almost had a job doing editing for a law firm. I've gotten close with that. I almost had a job doing technical writing for a tech company in New Taipei City. I got close with that. And just recently I'm trying to get another kind of technical computer position with a community center here in Taiwan. But it's hard. It's hard to do. It's hard to break into that kind of stuff. I do know people who are doing other things, though. I know guys who have started their own restaurant. There's a couple of guys here from Canada, and they've started up their own restaurant called Wayland's, which is fucking awesome. They have great poutine. I love poutine. I never had it until I got here in Taiwan, and it's like a dream. Poutine is awesome. And those guys started up their successful restaurant. That is freaking awesome. I know other foreigners who have gotten into the restaurant game or who are working in night markets selling food. And I know foreigners who are working as editors, of course. I know a guy who works as a chef at a very prestigious high school here, at a private high school, and he makes bank. I know a guy who started up his own kind of farming business where he grows certain plants to produce chemicals and make money that way, so that's pretty sweet. So there's all kinds of different things that you can get into. It's just really, really difficult, and you have to be really tenacious and you have to keep on trying. I'm always trying to break out of teaching, or I have been trying to break out of teaching for a while, but I'm gonna have to keep plugging away at it until I get lucky. Anyway, I hope I didn't ramble too long, and I hope I answered your question somewhat, Leviathan, and thank you very much. Okay, so for the last question, that comes from this guy, Umberto Calvini, and he says, questions for your upcoming Q&A. When did you become interested in moving to Taiwan? How, what, and why? Okay, so further on down the line, Umberto, I'm planning on making my own video about kind of my story, how I got to Taiwan, and all of that, like kind of like my origin story, if you want to put it that way. So I don't want to go into great depth, so I'll just put it like this. I got interested when I was taking classes at the university that my father attended for a TEFL certificate. TEFL is like, it's a certificate that you can get to help you be an English teacher overseas, basically. And I did that, and when I was doing the course, one of the things they do is they talk about where you want to go, and one of the places that came up was Taiwan, another one was South Korea, another one was China. You know, so all these places came up, and Taiwan, it seemed easier to get a visa and to move to than Korea or Japan, and it seemed way less restrictive and way less authoritarian than mainland China, and that's why I avoided mainland China, because it just seems very closed and very authoritarian, and you can very easily piss somebody off or get into trouble if you even get close to any kind of serious issue like politics or religion or anything like that. And I just want to be able to speak my mind whenever I want, and I can here in Taiwan. So cool. I hope that answered that somewhat. Of course, like I said, I'm going to go into more depth when I make the video devoted to that topic and only that topic. Okay, cool. So that's it, guys. That's the end of the questions and answers period. Now, I have two kind of news articles that I want to talk about with you guys. And one of them is very, very annoying, and it makes me angry. And another one is just fucking bizarre. So first, let's do the bizarre one. So the first really bizarre kind of one is this. There was a U.S. Navy officer suspected of passing secrets to Taiwan and China. So here, I'll just read to you guys the opening of this and then give you my breakdown on why I think it's so freaking bizarre. So it says, a Navy U.S. flight officer with knowledge of sensitive American intelligence collection methods faces espionage charges over suspicions he passed secret information to Taiwan and possibly to China, U.S. officials said. U.S. officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, identified the suspect as Lieutenant Commander Edward Lin, who was born in Taiwan and later became a naturalized U.S. citizen, according to a Navy article profiling him in 2008. Lin was a flight officer assigned to the Special Projects Patrol Squadron with experience managing the collection of electronic signals from the EP-3-E Ares II signals intelligence aircraft, officials said. Information about how the U.S. Navy carries out such signals collection operations could be highly valuable to a foreign government. A heavily redacted Navy charge sheet twice accused the suspect of communicating secret information and 3 times attempting to do so with intent or reason to believe it would be used to the advantage of a foreign nation. The suspect was also accused of engaging in prostitution and adultery. So there you go, guys. He got accused of trying to pass on information to China and Taiwan, military information, and to top it all off, they're going after him for supposed prostitution and adultery. So why do I think this is freaking bizarre? Well, I mean, China and Taiwan, if you're going to pass military information, why would you pass it to two nations that fucking hate each other, that could very likely end up in a war with each other? Wouldn't you just pick one? Okay, that's the first reason I think it's bizarre. Like, why would you go between the two? The second thing is, Taiwan and the US are already kind of allies. We've already sold weapons and like jets and all kinds of equipment to Taiwan. If Taiwan wanted this information, couldn't their military just ask the US military? And wouldn't we probably just tell them to help them out, since they're kind of an ally in the East Asia region against the growing power of China? It just doesn't make sense. Why? I just don't get it. It's completely bizarre, and it just baffles me. The whole thing baffles me. I don't understand why this guy Edward Lin would do this. I have no idea. It's really freaking weird, and I don't understand it. The way he talks, even, there's a quote that comes from him in the article that says, "I always dreamt about coming to America, the promised land," he said. "I grew up believing that all roads in America led to Disneyland." Sounds like this guy loves America. Why would he plot against America? It just doesn't make any sense, guys. Alright, anyway, tell me your thoughts on that. Maybe I'm being weird of saying it's bizarre. Maybe it's not bizarre. Maybe it makes total sense. Tell me what you think. And I will definitely be keeping my eye. If I see any more further developments on this story, I'm going to keep my eyes out for it because I want to see what the conclusion is. Okay, now here's the second news story, and this one is really maddening. So recently, a group of around 40 or 45 Taiwanese people were working in Kenya, and they got accused of running a complex phone and internet scamming organization in Kenya. So basically they were operating within Kenya, and they were scamming people in China over the internet and over the phone. And so these guys were tried in a court in Kenya, and the Taiwanese were later acquitted by the Kenyan court. But here's where it gets really, really maddening. Somehow the Chinese officials convinced the Kenyans to hand over the Taiwanese to them. And so the Taiwanese are basically kidnapped by these Chinese officials. They have a black hood put over their head, they're loaded up onto a plane, and they're flown back to China. Even though they were acquitted of these charges in Kenya and they're not really Chinese citizens, they're basically deported and kidnapped, and they have black hoods put over their head. And they're sent to China. It's not their nation. And Taiwan is demanding they get their people back, and China is like, what are you talking about? Taiwanese people are Chinese people. Chinese is all the same. There's only one China. These are our people, and they were doing crime, and so we've deported them back to the motherland, and now we'll deal with them. And so far they have not been given back to Taiwan. And so Taiwan has called out Kenya, and Kenya, it seems, has buckled to pressure from China because China is giving the Kenyan government money, and China has a lot of international sway. It's got a lot of international power, whereas Taiwan doesn't. And as far as China goes, Taiwan is angry with them, but all China has to say is that it wants to thank Kenya for supporting the One China policy, and that Kenya is their great friend. So yeah, it's completely maddening, and it scares people because now Taiwanese people think if they go abroad that they could possibly be kidnapped and deported to China, even if they didn't commit a crime, or if they did commit a crime and they were acquitted, that China can just have them deported, and you can end up in some kind of a jail or a work camp or a gulag in China. So there you have it, guys. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know if you're as angry as me about it. This to me is very clear. The Taiwanese should be sent back to Taiwan. This is where they live. This is where they come from, not China. China doesn't have a right to detain these people or to put them in jail or anything like that. And this is just another example of why Taiwan needs to be recognized as its own independent republic, and it not be tied to China in any way. That way it'll be respected by the international community, and countries won't allow Taiwanese people to be kidnapped or taken away by China, because they'll recognize Taiwan as its own independent state, and they'll respect Taiwanese people as Taiwanese citizens and only as Taiwanese citizens. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I don't want to go for too much longer. I gotta wrap this video up. Thank you very much for watching, and please leave me questions for the next writing video. I'm going to make more writing videos in the future for sure. And that's it. Alright, sayonara, guys. Remember, comment and share and subscribe and rate. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Okay? Bye-bye.